If you are listening right now and thinking, I've tried learning English before, but it never really worked, I want you to relax for a moment. You are not behind. You are not bad at languages, and you are definitely not alone. In 2026, learning English is no longer about memorizing long lists of words or forcing grammar rules into your head. It's about building habits that fit your real life, your real schedule, and your real energy. Today, we're going to help you understand what actually works, and more importantly, why it works.
That's such an important point, Vantha. Many learners believe they failed at English, when in reality, the method failed them. Schools often teach English as a subject to pass exams, not as a living language to communicate. In 2026, we finally understand much more about how the brain learns language naturally. It's not through pressure or perfection, it's through exposure, repetition, emotion, and meaningful use. This episode is about resetting your mindset and giving you a clear, realistic study plan that you can actually follow.
Let's start by talking about a big mistake many beginners make. They try to learn everything at once. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, idioms, writing, speaking, listening, all at the same time. This creates stress, confusion, and eventually burnout. Instead, the best learners in 2026 focus on input first, especially listening. Your brain needs to hear English again and again before it can produce it naturally. Just like a child listens for months before speaking, adults need structured listening too.
Exactly. And when we say listening, we don't mean passive noise in the background. We mean focused, gentle listening, where you understand the general meaning, even if you don't catch every word. Podcasts, short conversations, slow English content, these are powerful tools. When learners listen daily, even for 15 minutes, their brain starts recognizing patterns. Sentences stop feeling random. English begins to sound familiar instead of foreign. This familiarity is the foundation of fluency.
Another important shift for 2026 is letting go of translation. Many beginners translate every sentence into their native language, and that slows everything down. Translation creates a delay between thinking and speaking. Instead, learners should train themselves to understand meaning directly in English, even if that meaning is simple. Words like busy, tired, ready, or excited should create a feeling in your mind, not a translation. This takes time, but it starts with listening to simple, clear English consistently.
And this is where patience becomes a skill, not just an attitude. People want fast results, but language learning is more like building muscle than downloading information. You don't see results after one workout, but your body is still changing. With English, every listening session, every repeated sentence, every short conversation is strengthening your brain. In 2026, the best learners don't rush. They trust the process and show up every day, even when progress feels invisible.
Now let's talk about speaking, because this is where fear often appears. Many beginners understand English but freeze when they try to speak. Their mind goes blank or they worry about mistakes. The key insight for 2026 is this: speaking is not a test, it is practice. You are not performing for judgment, you are training a skill. That means mistakes are not failures, they are signals that learning is happening. Speaking should start small, safe, and frequent.
A powerful method we recommend is speaking alone before speaking with others. Talk to yourself in English about your day, your plans, or what you see around you. Describe actions like, I'm making coffee, or I'm checking my phone, or I feel tired today. These simple sentences connect English to your real life. Over time, this builds automatic speech. When you later talk to other people, your mouth already knows how to move in English.
Exactly. And when we say listening, we don't mean passive noise in the background. We mean focused, gentle listening, where you understand the general meaning even if you don't catch every word. Podcasts, short conversations, slow English content, these are powerful tools. When learners listen daily, even for 15 minutes, their brain starts recognizing patterns. Sentences stop feeling random. English begins to sound familiar instead of foreign. This familiarity is the foundation of fluency.
Another important shift for 2026 is letting go of translation. Many beginners translate every sentence into their native language, and that slows everything down. Translation creates a delay between thinking and speaking. Instead, learners should train themselves to understand meaning directly in English, even if that meaning is simple. Words like busy, tired, ready, or excited should create a feeling in your mind, not a translation. This takes time, but it starts with listening to simple, clear English consistently.
And this is where patience becomes a skill, not just an attitude. People want fast results, but language learning is more like building muscle than downloading information. You don't see results after one workout, but your body is still changing. With English, every listening session, every repeated sentence, every short conversation is strengthening your brain. In 2026, the best learners don't rush. They trust the process and show up every day, even when progress feels invisible.
Now let's talk about speaking, because this is where fear often appears. Many beginners understand English but freeze when they try to speak. Their mind goes blank or they worry about mistakes. The key insight for 2026 is this: speaking is not a test, it is practice. You are not performing for judgment, you are training a skill. That means mistakes are not failures, they are signals that learning is happening. Speaking should start small, safe, and frequent.
A powerful method we recommend is speaking alone before speaking with others. Talk to yourself in English about your day, your plans, or what you see around you. Describe actions like, I'm making coffee, or I'm checking my phone, or I feel tired today. These simple sentences connect English to your real life. Over time, this builds automatic speech. When you later talk to other people, your mouth already knows how to move in English.
Another key part of a 2026 study plan is consistency over intensity. Studying for 2 hours once a week is far less effective than studying for 20 minutes every day. Daily contact with English keeps the language active in your brain. It prevents forgetting and builds confidence slowly but steadily. Even on busy days, a short listening session or a few short sentences are enough to keep progress alive.
And let's not forget emotional connection. Learners who enjoy English learn faster. Choose content you care about, daily life conversations, personal stories, real situations. When English connects to your emotions, your brain remembers it more easily. This is why podcasts, especially conversational ones, are so effective. You're not just learning words, you're experiencing English as communication between people.
Before we move forward, I want to say something very important. You do not need perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar, or advanced vocabulary to begin speaking English. You need clarity and courage. Clear, simple English is powerful. Native speakers do not expect perfection. They expect effort and meaning. In 2026, confidence comes from use, not accuracy. Accuracy improves naturally with time and exposure.
As we close this first chapter, think of English as a daily companion, not a difficult subject. You don't have to master it all at once. You just need to walk with it a little every day. Listen, repeat, speak simply, and trust that your brain is learning, even when it feels slow. This mindset is the strongest foundation you can build for your English journey. For now, take a breath. Feel proud that you're here, and remember, learning English in 2026 is not about doing more. It's about doing what truly works. In 2026, a good English study plan is flexible, realistic, and forgiving. It understands that some days you're busy, tired, or distracted, and it still helps you move forward instead of making you quit.
That's such an important shift, Vantha. Traditional study plans often look perfect on paper but collapse after one busy week. Learners miss a few days, feel guilty, and then stop completely. What we want instead is a system that expects interruptions and adapts to them. Think of your English routine as something modular. Even if you only complete one small part on a busy day, you are still reinforcing the habit and keeping English active in your mind.
Let's imagine a very realistic learner in 2026. They work, they study, they have family responsibilities, and their phone already takes a lot of attention. For this learner, we don't design a 2-hour daily plan. We design a core routine that takes about 15 to 20 minutes and an optional extension for days when they have more time or energy. The core routine is non-negotiable, but it's small enough to feel doable every day.
The core routine usually starts with listening because listening is the engine of language acquisition. For example, 5 to 7 minutes of slow, clear English, a podcast segment, a short conversation, or a story. The goal here is not perfection, it's exposure. You listen, you follow the general meaning, and you let the language wash over you. This kind of listening trains your brain to recognize rhythm, intonation, and natural sentence structure.
After listening, the second part of the core routine is repetition and shadowing. This means you repeat short sentences out loud, or you speak at the same time as the audio. This step is incredibly powerful, yet many learners skip it because it feels uncomfortable. But discomfort is often a sign of growth. Shadowing helps your mouth, tongue, and brain work together. It reduces the gap between understanding English and speaking English.
And then comes a very simple speaking task. Not a presentation, not a debate, just 1 or 2 minutes of speaking about something personal and real. You might summarize what you heard, or talk about your day, or explain one idea in your own words. This step turns passive knowledge into active skill. Even if your sentences are simple, you are training fluency, not perfection. This is how confidence slowly builds.
Now let's talk about the optional extension. On days when you have more time, you can add reading, vocabulary review, or grammar awareness. But notice the word awareness, not memorization. In 2026, grammar is something you notice in context, not something you force into your brain. When you hear or read a structure many times, your brain starts understanding how it works naturally. Grammar becomes a pattern, not a rule you panic about.
Vocabulary works the same way. Instead of memorizing long lists, focus on high-frequency words and phrases that appear again and again in daily conversation. When you hear a word multiple times in meaningful situations, it sticks. If you really want to note it down, write a short example sentence that connects to your life. This makes vocabulary personal, emotional, and much easier to remember.
Another key element of a successful 2026 plan is reviewing without pressure. Many learners think reviewing means testing themselves and feeling stressed, but effective review is gentle. You listen again, you repeat again, you notice something you missed before. This kind of review deepens understanding without creating anxiety. Remember, your goal is not to prove what you know. Your goal is to strengthen what you're building.
We should also talk about weekly rhythm, not just daily routine. A week should include light days and heavier days. For example, on weekdays, you might focus on listening and speaking, short sessions. On weekends, you can do longer listening, reflect on your progress, or speak for a longer time. This rhythm respects your natural energy levels and prevents burnout, which is one of the biggest enemies of long-term learning.
Let's address something very honest here. Motivation comes and goes. Even passionate learners have days when they don't feel like studying. That's why discipline in 2026 looks different. It's not forcing yourself to do a lot. It's keeping the habit alive with the smallest possible action. Even listening for 3 minutes counts. Even saying one sentence out loud counts. Momentum matters more than intensity.
And there's another powerful concept. Identity. When learners start seeing themselves as someone who uses English every day, everything changes. You're no longer trying to become something in the future. You are already practicing being that person now. This identity shift reduces pressure and increases consistency. You don't ask, should I study today? You simply do what English users do. They listen, speak, and interact with the language regularly.
Technology also plays a role in 2026, but it should support learning, not distract from it. Use tools that reduce friction. Easy access podcasts, saved audio, simple notes. Avoid switching platforms too often. Depth comes from repetition with the same material, not from constantly searching for something new. Mastery grows when you stay with content long enough to feel familiar and comfortable.
As we approach the end of this chapter, I want listeners to understand this clearly. A good study plan feels almost too simple. If it feels complicated, stressful, or overwhelming, it probably won't last. Simplicity is not weakness, it's intelligence. A plan that you follow imperfectly every day will always beat a perfect plan you quit after 1 week.
So take a moment now and imagine your ideal English day. Short listening, a little speaking. No guilt, no pressure, just steady contact with the language. This is how real progress happens. In the next and final chapter, we'll talk about how to measure progress correctly, stay motivated long-term, and turn English into a lifelong skill instead of a temporary goal.
That idea alone can change everything for a learner. Many people think progress means speaking perfectly without pauses or mistakes, but native speakers pause, reformulate, and search for words all the time. Real progress is when you can keep going even when your English isn't perfect. It's when you stop freezing. It's when your brain stays in English longer before switching back to your first language.
One very practical way to measure progress is by looking at reaction time. At the beginning, you hear a question in English and your mind goes blank. Later, you still pause, but ideas appear faster. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, the speed of response shows your brain is adapting. This is a neurological change, not just a language skill, and it's a strong indicator that fluency is developing.
Another powerful measurement is emotional. Ask yourself how you feel when English appears unexpectedly. For example, someone speaks to you at work, or you hear English in a movie, or you need to explain something quickly. If you feel slightly less nervous than before, that's progress. If you're willing to try instead of avoiding the situation, that's progress. Confidence grows quietly, and many learners miss it because they're looking for dramatic changes.
We also need to talk about mistakes, because how you react to mistakes will decide whether you succeed or quit. In 2026, advanced learners treat mistakes as information, not failure. A mistake simply shows where your system is still organizing itself. Every time you notice a mistake and continue speaking anyway, you are training resilience. Fluency is not the absence of mistakes, it's the ability to recover smoothly and continue communicating.
That's why comparison is so dangerous. When learners compare themselves to native speakers or advanced users online, they forget one thing. Those speakers have thousands of hours of exposure. Progress must be compared only with your past self. If you understand more than before, speak longer than before, or hesitate less than before, you are winning. This mindset protects motivation and keeps learners consistent over months and years.
Now, let's talk about long-term motivation, because English is not a short project. It's a skill you carry for life. The most successful learners don't rely on excitement. They build emotional connection. English becomes the language of something they care about: their career, their curiosity, their stories, their growth. When English connects to meaning, practice stops feeling like study and starts feeling like participation in the world.
This is where content choice becomes very important. Instead of always choosing learning materials, mix in real content that matches your level. Simple interviews, slow videos, stories, or conversations about topics you genuinely enjoy. When you listen because you're interested, not because you should, your brain stays engaged longer. Engagement accelerates learning more than pressure ever could.
Another long-term strategy is to accept plateaus. There will be periods where you feel stuck, where improvement feels invisible. This doesn't mean you're not progressing. It means your brain is consolidating. Just like muscles need rest after training, your language system needs time to stabilize. If you stay consistent during these phases instead of changing methods constantly, you will break through naturally.
We should also mention speaking partners and community, but without pressure. You don't need many people. Even one safe space to speak English regularly is enough. This could be a friend, an online partner, or even speaking to yourself out loud. What matters is regular expression of thoughts in English. Speaking is a physical and mental skill, and it strengthens through use, not through observation alone.
As we approach the closing of this episode, I want listeners to hear this clearly. Learning English in 2026 is not about chasing fluency as a finish line. It's about building a relationship with the language. Some days will feel strong, some days weak, and that's normal. What matters is that English remains part of your daily life, even in small, imperfect ways.
Yes, and if you stay with that idea, English stops being something you fight against. It becomes something that grows with you. You don't wait to be ready to speak, you speak to become ready. You don't wait for confidence to appear. Confidence is built sentence by sentence, mistake by mistake, day by day.
So, as you finish listening today, don't think about everything you still can't do in English. Think about what you can do now that you couldn't do before. Then choose one small action you'll repeat tomorrow. That's how real learners move forward. That's how English becomes natural, useful, and part of who you are, not just something you study.
And if you stay with us, episode by episode, conversation by conversation, you're not just learning English, you're training your mind to think, react, and express itself with clarity and confidence. That journey is worth it, and you're already on it.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Keep listening, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep trusting the process.